What's happening, guys?
A lot, actually. How about you?
The same. Pretty busy.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys going to discuss what you've been working on or what's coming up?
So I always ask around for these things, and there were some suggestions that overall also just tweeted out. Actually, I should try to pin that tweet. One of the things was the guide reorg we just did, but then there were some other topics too. So if some people want to share stories from Bitcoin Miami, like Steven was there and did a ton of stuff representing the design community. Um, and a few other topics, unified QR codes, the Stratum V2 project that kicked off yesterday. And another interesting thing that also Stephen brought up is a ecosystem-wide need for designers that understand Lightning. I think that's a good one too. Do you have any topics you'd like to talk about, Tanner?
I guess one thing I'm curious about is like, well, it sounds like lightning's at the top of the list, but some of the things, some of the spots that you guys need some help right now, or some of the areas that, you're looking for design help.
Mhm. Yeah, that was something. So Bosch brought this one up, getting feedback on that recent reorg, and then just hearing from people also what the next priorities are. There is a ton of focus on Lightning, um, but there are also other things we need to catch up on a little bit, some open issues, but also completely new areas we could get into. Um, we haven't spent a ton of time really on multi-sig. That's a whole area, or merchants and various other areas. But and that really depends on, I think, what people are interested in. That'll be interesting. Small group so far. Hey Millie, hey Miguel, hey Brad. Let me know. Just raise your hand if you'd like to chat. I'll add you as a speaker.
We forgot to do a thing earlier this morning in Slack saying, "Hey, there's a community call in 4 hours."
Oh, I did one yesterday and just 20 minutes ago or so. Didn't I do that?
I missed the
Oh,
one
yesterday.
yesterday, or maybe
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Hmm. Yeah. Any other topics? Pablo next. He can become. He's there too. Millie, is there something you'd like to chat about? Maybe you can share your impression from the Stratum V2 call yesterday.
Sure. Um, I mean, I don't know exactly what to say, but just share my impression. So I
Oh yeah,
feel,
sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
yeah,
Just
no, no worries.
suggesting.
No worries. It was a great call. Like I really enjoyed to understand like mining because I it's not a subject that I really dive into personally around Bitcoin. Like I was mostly like focused on Lightning, like we said. But of course, it would be great if we had like other designer in other areas, like Tanner is saying. It's a really interesting like business challenge because I mean the way the Rachel explained was like the only solution that she saw is if the manufacturer like adopt Stratum V2, um, which is quite interesting how we can help like reach those people design wise. So I'm really looking forward like to try to represent Stratum V2 the with design actually and helping understand more that mining protocol through visuals and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. I'm on a very poor telephone and also have like a
Loud and
very bad
clear.
mic. Awesome. So, um, yeah, I guess protocol stuff is always very challenging to design, especially when you don't have any end user facing things. So it's very hard to visualize things. So I hope that educational part in the presentation was helpful for people to, I guess, understand the problem better. So just the visuals and the branding and everything we will come up with. I'm so excited because it will bring a lot of attention to a very important project, in my opinion. So I just wanted to thank you all for coming to that call yesterday, and I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, if you have any questions about the Stratum version 2 protocol, I'm happy to answer them maybe on Slack. I'm not sure how Christoph and Steven wanted to structure the call, so I don't want to take too much time because we already did talk too much about it yesterday.
Yeah, I think we can keep this call completely open. And Tanner, that's actually, maybe you're interested in that one. So Stratum is a mining protocol, and it's pretty new, I think. It's not very widely adopted. It improves a ton on the most widely used protocol, V1. And they just don't really have a website and a web presence. So now this is kind of a design project that just kicked off yesterday. And the goal is to create a visual identity and a website, and also help with a content strategy a bit to organize the content in a way that the different, as usual, the different audiences, people who should be interested in this, that they actually can find the information that they need and all that, which in this case are mining manufacturers, mining pools, and miners. So it's less not as usual the typical mainstream, wallet user audience. This is kind of a different audience. So if that's something you're interested in, you're more than welcome to join as well.
Yeah, I think the designers contributing to protocol stuff is actually pretty important. I think the Stratum V2 is probably pretty critical for the long-term viability of Bitcoin. That, or until somebody comes up with a better engineering solution. But we spend a lot of our time, I think, looking at the user layer of things. But important to note that if mining doesn't stay decentralized and trend towards more and more decentralization, that I think that harms the network long term. So it's a really important campaign, and it's not the kind of work we usually do because we're usually focused on user interface in this community. But it could be a little bit liberating just being able to tell a story instead. And I think we could turn to stuff like some of the kind of beautiful illustrated stuff that Cash App does, and their kind of explaining Bitcoin series and stuff like that. Look to that kind of stuff for inspiration, where we're kind of telling a story about Stratum V2, also pointing people to where they can actually find real technical information about it. But we're kind of telling a story here, and instead of building a user flow. That's the way I think about it.
Yeah, I'm also curious how much just information design, infographics could help communicate some of the benefits of the protocol. I think there's a good amount of creative space there to explore.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah,
so building the website.
Now nobody's speaking.
Yeah, there was a delay on my end, so I probably interrupted Tanner. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say that, yeah, Steven, it's really awesome that even though it's not like an end user application, it really needs more awareness. And it was interesting to me to see how designers approach this kind of storytelling problems, because, developers create all sorts of cool stuff that is not very interesting to the wider audience because it doesn't have an interface, for example, but it does have a story behind it, and it is interesting and important in a way. All of these protocols, how they improve Bitcoin itself, and it just show another way of how non-developers can actually help to the project, just by helping developers tell a better story and better explain in simple words why what they are building is important, even though it's not like visible to the end user, but it is important to just tell a story, as you said. And I think we can maybe have even more collaborations like this, because there are so many BIPs and so many ideas out there, but developers are really struggling with telling this story, and especially like emphasizing problems themselves. Stratum has actually been around for quite a while, but it never reached that level of adoption. So I'm hoping that we can improve that and help the developers. And not just Stratum, like there are so many other protocols that we can touch. So I'm just excited about that.
Cool. Should we move on to the next topic, which
Yep.
so at Stratum, I guess something we brought up earlier but didn't really touch is the reorg of the design guide and what the next priority should be. So that was something in the making for maybe, I don't know, 2 months or so, and it really picked up on a lot of issues over the last half year. So as we developed more content, we realized that the current structure of the design guide, the way that the pages are nested and the way that we have the different sections that we have, didn't really work very well with the content direction we moved into. So we had general sections like onboarding and payments, but then most of our content was specific to very particular product type, this mobile Lightning wallet. And so we kind of had this clash of where what looked like a general section was really about very specific content and vice versa. So we reorganized a bit, and the guide is much more focused now on specific reference designs for products. And now we have a better foundation to move forward. And a whole bunch of things moved around now. And as we did that, more things came up, especially around Lightning, a whole bunch of details that we need to address still, and UX details to sort out. And so I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts on any big thing that they see that's missing now in the guide, or that they'd like to see featured, anything that they saw. They were trying to look something up and it wasn't there. Curious if anybody has any thoughts on that. I have my thoughts I can share too, but curious to hear from others.
For me, it's not like a feedback that I'm gonna say, but more like I really appreciate how you guys like break it down like reference design. I feel it's much more clear what I'm expecting to see when I click on, for example, daily spending wallet and seeing like design. So I really appreciate you guys doing that for the Bitcoin design guide.
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
enjoying the new menu structure. It just looks easier to take in when you're looking at the nav bar on the left-hand side now. So that's really cool. I think we just probably need to focus on fleshing out some of these other sections now. The daily spending wallet's currently the most populated section, the most populated of the reference designs. So it would be good to flesh out some of those other sections now. Kind of one of my next priorities was kind of doing some more visual work on the upgradable account and shared account reference designs.
Yeah, so I wanted actually to, I'm not sure if I'll be able to articulate this without visually showing stuff, but my only concern with the restructuring as it is now currently like it looks is that there are so many things which are now hidden in a way. So person has to click on a certain section in order to, for example, see sending page. And I'm just concerned if people would understand like where this sending page and even be aware that they exist. So should they be like collapsed by default or just hidden as they are now? They're just the thought that I have. Like we have so much content, but if we hide it, will people be able to find it eventually? Probably yes, but Maybe somebody landing on the certain page might not be aware that there are like ton of other information, or it just be hidden from there. I'm not sure if you guys to go to bitcoin.design/guide, maybe you will understand what I'm referring to. It's a little bit hard to explain this. If maybe Steven can probably better articulate if he understands what I mean actually.
Well, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. You go to bitcoin.design/guide, and then you go to the left-hand menu, and that nav bar that's on the left column of the page, used to be like a kilometer long, just with all the content, and now it's all kind of collapsed by default under daily spending wallet. I think part of the rationale for that decision was kind of the opposite of what you're saying. We kind of actually wanted to make it appear a little bit less overwhelming. I guess the thinking was just that there was a lot of content there, and it wasn't quite immediately clear, which one would be relevant. And so I think we were trying to corral people into like, okay, what kind of product am I trying to build? Am I trying to build a daily spending wallet? Am I trying to build like a savings wallet, or something like that? Kind of funnel them into the like category of what they're trying to build. And then when you click on daily spending wallet, then that menu opens up and shows you everything that's inside. I don't know if that's the right choice or not, but that was kind of our rationale behind that.
Yeah, and I would just add that's if you only go by the sidebar. The guide landing page has actually gotten a lot more links and is a lot more detailed, while previously it just had a list of sections and it was just one big link. Now, if you go to the design guide landing page, every section has kind of points out and has direct links to some of the most relevant pages in that section. So that page has become more transparent and highlights more content. But yeah, the sidebar has gone a little bit in the other direction for sure.
Yeah, I'm just here for the spicy takes. So if a person arrives to a page and spreading controversy, but like if a person arrives to a page and just wants to see how on earth do I present like an address in a receive, or how do I do that? Maybe, they will get annoyed with not being able to find it right away. But I guess that's how they have search bars. So yeah, just wanted to start the controversial topic. But yes, the reasoning there makes sense to me. If like a new person arrives to the Bitcoin Design Guide, they shouldn't be overwhelmed with the information. And we assume that they will go at least to a certain section, or go step by step and learn as they read it. So it will be interesting to see feedback from people. And I just want to invite people here, since we have quite a bit of people joining in, just due to recent changes that we did and too many new stuff, just let us know how we did, like bitcoin.design/guide. Let us know how the navigation works, and if you like the changes that we made. I personally like them, but just curious of these edge cases, if they really happen. And yeah, that's it from my end, I guess.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's not in the sidebar right now is we had the idea of case studies. So while the reference design, generally they discuss just kind of like design blueprints for specific products or user flows. Case studies would be more documenting something external. So if somebody does some really good user research on merchants or so, that whole user research could go in there. If somebody analyzes user flows for some other particular interaction, that could go. So they're kind of separating a little bit kind of these general blueprints and more just information and analysis that was gathered. So that would go into a case study section, but we don't have content there right now. That's kind of a future plan there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that idea. Another thing that I personally would love to see, and I created an issue for that this week, is a page about accessibility, because I think that's a really big thing and it doesn't get a ton of attention. And one thing I started looking into was the localization of recovery phrases, because they're all, even at the Bitcoin Miami conference, I heard people talking about on stage, like, yeah, everybody can just, remember 12 words, and that's they can take all their Bitcoin with them. And if you're an English speaker, that's possible. But if, let's say, you speak Japanese, then English letters, characters, words. They're just like drawing weird shapes, right? It makes no sense to. It might make no sense to you. So, and turns out that the BIP 39 that specifies the recovery phrases or mnemonics, that there are 10 different word lists for different languages in there, but they're really barely supported. So that's one of the accessibility issues that I think would be amazing. I heard from another designer that the recovery phrase backup is also kind of tricky when when let's say you rely on voiceover and the application reads out those words loud, and I don't know, somebody could listen in or it gives away. So I think accessibility would be something that I'd love to see, and I'm not the best person probably to do that. I'd love to see some activity around that. Anybody else? Any other ideas of what you'd like to see in the guide?
Those two are really cool, actually. I saw you posted something the other day, like a design where I think you were able to like select the different language types.
Oh yeah, I just took in the design guide we have a UI design for when a user gets presented their recovery phrase and using English term, and I simply replaced them with the Japanese words. And then, you know, that's kind of what it would be for, let's say, a Japanese speaker seeing English words, and the application asks them to write down or remember these English words. It might There's just a big hurdle for them because they might not be familiar with that alphabet. So I was trying to visualize, you know, that scenario.
I mean, it's interesting to, I mean, on the one side, the accessibility, but on the other, it's like that could even be an increased security thing, right? Like if I am in an English speaking country and then I export my 12 words in Japanese, it's going to make it even harder for the people around me to be able to steal my 12 words. So anyways, I just thought, I think that's all a really interesting area.
Christoph, I'm just curious, have you ever gotten like feedback design-wise for blind people in a sense?
No, you know, accessibility is one of these things that I bring up here and there, and I'd love for people to just say, "Hey, you know, things don't work for me. You know, do this differently," because obviously, you know, like I personally, I don't know what it's like to be a blind person. But like I said, it hasn't gotten a ton of attention, and I think as a design community, we have we're almost in a better position than, let's say, an individual designer as a company to come up with to kind of solve these problems. If we can gather a few people, if we can invite some people in who, you know, have those needs and gather feedback from them and have those discussions and document them. Um, I from web design, I'm familiar with testing voiceovers and keyboard navigation, but I'm sure there's just a lot more to it. Like I'm curious how, you know, QR codes work out for blind people, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like that seems like a big security risk right there. I don't know, just
Yeah,
like
big one.
if you can't see what it is that you're scanning, uh, that seems like there's room for some kind of a attack there. And you know, I mean, that may not even be just a Bitcoin specific thing. If you think about it, I'd be curious just like what existing fintech apps do in terms of accessibility. Like if you're talking about something like Apple Pay or something like that, like how does that deal with accessibility? Might be good to turn to existing services and see what they're already doing, and then seeing what's different for Bitcoin.
From what I remember, there was a wallet which focused specifically for making Bitcoin accessible to people with visual impairment. So blind people. I do not remember like its name. I can probably dig up as I mute myself, but if somebody knows, please let me know. I'm not sure if it even like was launched or whatever, but I do remember reading articles about it. So I'll go now and dig it. Maybe I can find it somewhere.
Sweet.
And interestingly, with the word lists, recovery phrases in different languages, I think so. The Phoenix Lightning Wallet team, they're already working on that, but they're kind of worried about launching it because there's such limited support across wallets. So I also talked to Nuno from Blue Wallet, and a good approach would be to first allow import of recovery phrases in different languages, and try to get that across a whole bunch of wallets. Then, after that's kind of spread a bit further, then allow for a generation of recovery phrases in different languages. And then a parallel effort could be to create more word lists in more languages that could kind of go on, that could happen on the side, because there are 10 right now. And then, could be a great community effort too to help localize those. Love to see that.
Yeah, sounds very similar to BIP21. It's like first get everybody to support reading it, then people can start creating it. So it could be the same thing with the languages. Get people to support ingesting those recovery phrases in other languages, and then people can decide if they want to let their wallet generate in those languages.
Precious, you asked to be a speaker. Did you want to say something on this topic?
Yes, I was kind of like concerned about when you spoke up about accessibility for blind people. I don't know, like when you mentioned about scanning for QR code, that's like kind of like, yeah, very much concerned. I don't know, is something you said about interviewing or getting feedback from them, like kind of like knowing how they use existing services for now to know how we could better design for them. So probably how do they pay for stuffs online using their credit card and all that. I don't know whether there's a technology like that for them that could be translated into them design for Bitcoin.
Yeah, it'll be a tricky one. Like you said, I think reaching out to people is probably a good idea if we can. And like Stephen said earlier, there's probably a whole bunch of existing research on this. So if you can reach out, I don't know, maybe there's a Reddit community with people that do this all the time and they can help and they're experienced. Maybe we can ask some experts who do accessibility testing to show us how they do their testing, then we can do it. Well, it would be cool if we could narrow in on this. And I think this could really use some help from people in the community. Should we move on to the next topic? Good with this one? Want to chat about it more? Next one would be Bitcoin Miami 2022. So so Stephen here, he was there at the conference and represented the community. And when he came back, said he was finally done with conferences. I asked him like, what do you take away? Because I find it always so interesting to hear from people who go to these different events. Yeah, Stephen, did you wanna share just a couple things off the top of your head that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of interesting announcements, going on. I mean, just in general in the conference, there's a ton of interesting stuff happening all across Bitcoin. I would say you got the topics, vary widely from, say, the open source stage, which is just, comparable to what you might find at like a bit devs meetup with, really in-depth technical discussion, all the way to the mining focus stage, and then the main stage, which is where you got your more like celebrity kind of voices and stuff. But uh, you know, there was obviously the Blockstream, Block, Tesla announcement, which was pretty interesting about the solar mining kind of thing. There was the Lightning Labs announcement about TARO, which would be a series of BIPs that would allow for its Taproot asset representation overlay or something to that effect. And as far as I understand that, it's basically you could create some kind of unique token on Bitcoin that's represented on the main chain and just kind of represented with client side verification. So it sounds like there's going to, what they're proposing is some kind of like tokens on Bitcoin thing. So I'm not really sure, I don't really know. I don't really think that really fits in with a lot of the, money narratives that we're having in the design community, but it's certainly a, interesting technology I'd be curious to look into. And then just, plenty of conversations too about, how to represent, stabilized assets on Lightning. Whether that's, people trying to put stable coins on Lightning, or people trying to actually, use derivative type arrangements to, or DLCs or things like that to stabilize Lightning channels. So that's going to be interesting. In terms of design, I printed a bunch of stickers. Patricia also did a round of stickers and a round of T-shirts, and gave those out to people. And I was kind of surprised just talking to people. How many? I mean, there's a lot of people who stopped by to talk to us at our little table who had never heard of us, and were very, very interested in it. And also was surprised to just see how many people actually had heard of us and had read the guide before, and stuff like that. People who don't, usually tune into calls and stuff, that are kind of in the background reading the stuff. So I was pleasantly surprised to hear about that. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of a general overview of what my experience was like.
I'm very interested in TARO now that you mentioned it, and I see that we have somebody from Synonym also. I'm not sure if it's John or somebody else, so if you want to speak and explain TARO to us and why this matters, why it is important, I would personally really like to hear the summary, because I didn't have time to look into it, so maybe that can be one of the topics as well.
Well, I thought TARO was a Lightning Labs.
To me, it sounded pretty similar what Synonym is already doing, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
So
That's
maybe,
right.
yeah.
I
So
do.
yeah,
Yeah, I do. I remember sending them somebody. I think John saying something to the effect that they wanted to do tokens over Lightning. So I'm not sure how their methodology differs from TARO. I haven't actually read the TARO BIPs yet.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. So, Stephen, I just pinned you. You said you have stacks of stickers. Can people DM you and you'll send them stickers?
Yeah, I mean, within reason, yeah, absolutely. I want to make sure that everybody who wants stickers gets them. I guess I got to figure out what, shipping and all that is like in everybody's respective countries. But yeah, absolutely. Send me a
Feel
DM
free
and
to
we'll.
say no. Sorry, I'm just keep putting you on the spot here.
No, I want to send out the stickers. I can't promise it in a certain timeline, and we would have to talk about shipping costs and all that. That's the caveat. That's just the main caveat. I don't know what shipping costs are like, but assuming, yeah, you're willing to, send me some sats or whatever to cover that. Yeah, sure. I'm happy to help hook people up with stickers.
I think we're also looking to create a Bitcoin design sticker set that anyone can contribute designs to, and we can just regularly print them. It'd be a fun one too. I had one question about this. So there was a call about mobile Lightning wallets, and the summary was that there are, I don't know, a couple 100,000 or so people actually use Lightning right now. So it's still tiny. It's still emerging. The technology is really difficult. The liquidity management, there's so much to do still, and it will take time. And then you have something like Taro, which is a new protocol that's incredibly forward-looking, with talking about all kinds of assets and all of this stuff, and people get excited about that, right? But how do you know, and then you kind of have on-chain, which is out of this whole stack, probably the most mature part, right? So we have these different layers of things, and some of them are far out in the future. How did you, what were people, what were people most focused on, or was there some type of focus in the conference, or was it pretty split between everything?
I mean, it's split by, I mean, so incredibly split, which is, kind of a good thing that shows that, Bitcoin's gotten to the point where people can see it as a good idea and be interested in it for different reasons. I mean, just like I said, there's an entire stage dedicated to mining, and it's just because the whole conversation around like mining and energy is just kind of its own thing now, and you can have those kinds of conversations, and it'll just be entirely separate, and like irrelevant to what's going on, or at least it'll seem to you like irrelevant to what's going on in Lightning. I mean, on the main stage, you know, again, the main stage isn't really dictated by topic. It's more about like how famous said speaker is. Um, but I'd say that on the open source stage, you got like a ton of stuff about just scaling Lightning. I mean, that's just a huge topic right now. Just how you get more and more people on Lightning, how you improve it. Discussions about Bolt 12, discussions about TARO, discussions about privacy on Lightning. So yeah, I mean, I'd say the open source stage definitely came across as very Lightning focused to me. Just in general, like green energy and all of that's just a huge topic, around the conference. Um, and I think that definitely the human rights thing is definitely picking up. I think more and more people are starting to see that value. So a lot of narratives emerging. I guess I'll wrap this up with one interesting thing I'll say, which is probably one of the most interesting new developments I saw was I met when I was presenting in New York City a couple months ago. I met these young girls who do this thing called Gen B. It's like a pun on Gen Z, but it's like with the Bitcoin logo instead. And they're basically like, trying to get more like teenagers and stuff, into working on Bitcoin. And so that was really cool. And then I was really surprised to walk into the main stage one afternoon and, like a football, like a, giant football field sized, speaking area. And, I see on the monitors, they're up there on stage with Elizabeth Stark, which is really cool to see their little club, like getting that much, exposure on the main stage like that. So it's kind of hard to believe that, that's kind of like the next thing we got to think about is that, there's this whole, younger generation of people, that are going to be starting their adult careers in a couple of years, and how do we get them interested in working on Bitcoin and help them get set up to start contributing?
We all feel old now, thanks to Steven.
My bad.
Yeah, but that kind of leads. There was another topic here on the suggested list, which was the ecosystem need to onboard more designers to Lightning. Stephen, I think that's also something that you mentioned, where it's just emerging so quickly, and it just takes time for people to onboard. And you have the regular learning Bitcoin and design call where people can suggest topics that they'd like to chat about and learn on them. But yeah, I'm kind of curious too what else we can do in terms of helping get designers who want to work in this area get up to speed a bit more quickly.
Yeah, so you know, I think what Christoph is remarking on there is I had a conversation with two, Lightning startup company founders. I'm not going to name them just because I didn't tell them I was going to go talking about a conversation on Twitter Spaces, but I don't think it's terribly controversial. They were basically just, expressing to me that, kind of like when hiring designers, it's incredibly difficult because even though there's lots of really great UX designers out there, just the bringing them up to speed on Lightning is a very kind of slow and difficult process. And they said that they'd seen some of what we were working on in the community with the design guide and all that, and was wondering if there could, we kind of jokingly said, like, could there be like a certification to design for Lightning? And I think we all kind of agree, very quickly agreed. Well, no, it shouldn't be like a certification because nobody's gonna make the rules for everybody in Bitcoin. All we can do is just make recommendations here. But that did lead us to a discussion of like, well, could there be some kind of like workshop series or boot camp? It could use the Bitcoin design guide like as a curriculum, but it would basically be a series of workshops that would, try and turn a UX designer into a Bitcoin UX designer. So we could probably, I feel like that would be something we could do a workshop series around or something like that. I mean, and we already do that in a similar way with the Learning Bitcoin and Design calls. But I think the difference there is that those are a little more open. That's like whatever people want to learn about. Whoever decides that they're going to show up for those calls can propose things that they want to learn about, and we talk about those things. Whereas what I think we were talking about at the conference is more like a structured curriculum, that would kind of go from, start to finish through the design guide. And, like I said, turn a designer into a Bitcoin designer.
Yeah, I think the best way designer can learn about Bitcoin is to just get involved in an open source project and do things there. Like that's the best portfolio they can get when trying to get a job, or that's the best way they can, get involved quickly without permission. So I do agree with that as well. As you said, like, I'm not sure about certification, but like trying to bring more designers to local communities, one-on-one workshops and things like that. I've been like thinking about making things better at locally and inspired also by a lot of work that you, Steven, have done in your community. So maybe that can also be like us creating a structure on how people can all around the world basically onboard each other to become Bitcoin designers can also be one of our goals. I don't know. I'm just ranting now, but that's what I was thinking as you were speaking.
I find it really interesting, your idea of workshops, Stevens. I'm even wondering if it could be, I know the Bitcoin design community is like open source and everyone can join, but I'm wondering if this workshop could be a way to finance open source project. Like, hey, we're offering these Bitcoin design workshops from companies if you want to get your UX designer up to speed, whether it's on a donation basis or I don't know, like $100 for an hour, I don't know, and it goes back right to the community. Maybe it could be an interesting way. Also, another thing that I've heard from people working in Bitcoin startup, it's really hard also to find designers that are totally Bitcoiners. And sometimes I feel people need that same the same mentality regarding like Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is the real money that is solving those problems, and versus like shitcoining. So I see also sometimes it can cause friction when a designer is like not totally a Bitcoiner, but the rest of the company is a like hardcore orange pill. Just my take on it.
Yeah, if I was like in charge of hiring somebody, the first thing I would look currently would be their ethos and their involvement in the open source Bitcoin community. Not more. I wouldn't care like if they worked for a big company or not. At least that would be my approach. Maybe it's not the best, but I would. That's how I would frame it. So just contribute to open source and make wonderful things, and you will get a well-paid job sooner or later.
Yeah, that sounds ideal. But oh, Precious, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, so usually like applying for jobs, usually at these jobs, because most of the jobs I see on open source are usually senior level. I don't know whether there's anyone for entry level, someone that's just getting started in design entirely.
I don't know from experience. Speaking from experience, in what is it, 17 years of experience in the digital space. Even if it's senior, sometimes it's just that they want to have a senior. But I don't know if there really are many even senior experienced designers in this space at all, because it's just so new and so emerging. So I would generally not take that as a no from the start. Maybe just start having a conversation and just talk about what they want to do, what you can provide, and just take it from there. Yeah, I would not take that one word too serious.
Or you do a fabulous job contributing, and then you become self-proclaimed senior, or whatever it is that they are requesting once they see your ethos and your work. I don't think seniority would matter that much, but that's just me. Like, hopefully one day we will have Pav company onboarding everybody with proper ethos, but I'm just joking mostly now.
Yeah, I mean, like job applications.
Then also, go on, Steven.
I was just going to say that job applications in technology are kind of a running joke because they're always completely and totally ridiculous. The level of seniority that they want you to have. They'll ask you to have 6 years of experience in a protocol or that's only existed for 2 years. I mean, yeah, technology job postings are just silly, even in the Bitcoin world. I'm sorry. So yeah, I think the main distinction I would make too is like, is it a startup that is like 4 or 5 or 6 people, or is this a company that's more mature and has 30 plus people working for it? Because if it's a really small startup, then what they really mean by senior is really probably more that they just want you to wear a lot of hats. Like they want you to be, you know, they want your skill set to not be so specific, because at a smaller company, you know, you'll frequently be asked to do a lot of different things, maybe things that weren't in your job description. And so that's why I think is the most important at a startup, why they might say something like senior. But like at a much larger company with more people, I think the odds are that you can get away with performing a job role that's a little bit more specific, but it'll just depend on the company, I think.
Okay. Then I think it was Pav Linux that said something about designing for Bitcoin is kind of different from the other shitcoin. I don't know. Could you explain more further? That like, don't they follow like the same blockchain pattern also?
So, at least in my experience, Bitcoiners actually look at your ethos and how you perceive things, and if your ethos align with theirs. So, I don't think I don't have experience applying for shitcoin companies or blockchain, whatever. But I would say just invest time to learn. It's a transition, so somebody transitioning through this process, it's hard. It takes time. Contributing to open source really helps with this, I would say, but just takes a little bit of time to actually understand Bitcoin, understand how people think about it, and just it takes time. Be patient is what I would say, and practice, learn. It's an open community, and you can basically hop to many different projects and learn from many smart people.
Yeah, Bitcoin hostel just requested to speak. Glad to have you here.
Hi guys, thank you for letting me speak. I just saw that you opened the space, and I didn't listen to you guys for long, but I just saw the name Bitcoin Design Community, and that sounds really interesting for me because we're actually planning a Bitcoin hostel, and we're trying to do this in the most open source way possible, the most Bitcoin spirit way. And we want to kind of try to take every design step together with the community. And yeah, since I'm pretty new at Twitter and pretty new at this spaces technology, I'm like super fascinated and super amazed how everything goes and how helpful the community is. And yeah, I just wanted to say that everyone who's interested in designing things is welcome to follow us and to put their inputs. We need, at the moment, a new logo. We need at the later stage also architects. We need at the moment also artists that could design some sculpture for the lobby and stuff like this. And if you're not an artist, I'm like super interested on how you guys maybe think we could approach such a community-based designing process. And yeah, if you have any advice or thoughts on this idea.
Can I just ask, where are you guys located? Is it like one country or multiple? Because my dream one day is that there are like Bitcoin-only hubs where people could get equipment, and young people could get equipment, get knowledge, get books, and get access to a space where they can basically hack around, learn, design, or whatever it is Bitcoin-related. That's what I'm trying to create with a community here in Belgrade as well. One day, maybe in a few years, we'll have like a space like that. But that what you said really sounds interesting to me, and I'm not sure. I hope that we can maybe help you. But having a Bitcoin hub throughout the Europe would be awesome, as long as it's not like NFT shitcoins and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. It's definitely only Bitcoin. I don't think a lot of shitcoiners or NFT Web3 people would really want to design a place or make a place where people would learn about how society could get organized a little bit better, more sustainable, and with a longer time horizon. So we are actually in a really early stage of designing this place. It's me and my girlfriend. We're still based in Berlin, and I'm working as an architect still on a project that I have to finish by the end of this year. And because we know that this process of designing a hostel and finding a good location and preparing everything takes a lot of time, I already started now this month to get a little bit of a feedback from people, and I saw that people are actually fucking amazed by this idea, and there's a lot of people that are supporting us, and we got like almost 1,600 followers now in less than a month. And first donations, and I mean, people are just super supportive, giving advice, giving feedback, and it's just really a nice positive energy. And the hostel will be at the moment we're planning to put it in either mainland Portugal in the south in Algarve, or actually now that we have the news of Madeira, we're also considering going to that island in the Atlantic. That's also part of Portugal. But Portugal in general is really good. They have pretty good jurisdictions on Bitcoin because you don't have to pay any taxes, and also other taxes are pretty low. So we're hoping to find a good place over there and together with the whole community build something amazing. And it's obviously also something that is not only for travelers, but it should also be for locals, and it should really be like a hub for people to hang out at, have events, have conversations, and have co-working spaces maybe, and just a place where Bitcoiners, but also people that have really no idea about Bitcoin, can share ideas and have a good time together.
Awesome idea. I love it. I would love to see what you have. And I want to invite you to join our community Slack. We are a very open community. There are 3,000 members out there. I'm sure somebody will find it interesting and help you out. And I know that we have a few contributors with a background in architecture as well. I think Daniel comes to my mind as well. So just join our Slack, and I would love personally to see what you have in store.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So follow me guys on Twitter, and I'm posting stuff that we like, updates. I'm posting about first competitions, and just asking for advice, or trying to build this together with the whole community. So yeah, thanks for your input as well.
Yeah, thanks for hopping in here. Very cool idea. We're nearing the hour here. We have 2 minutes. Any last words? Anything else you'd like to chat about, or should we try to wrap it up here?
Nothing. I just want to salute everyone. I think the Bitcoin community is, especially the Bitcoin Twitter community, is amazing. And thanks for every input, and I'd be happy to maybe also help other projects. I mean, if you guys have like a project in Belgrade, I'm an architect, I can maybe also give an input there. And I think the more people give ideas, the better we can build projects all over the world.
That's the spirit. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to do in the design community too. Just have an open space where people can just bring up ideas and find other people and talk to them and make cool stuff together in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So how about we wrap it up for today now? Let me know if there's anyone would like to say anything else. Otherwise, thank you for chiming in, and we'll have another call in 3 weeks. Recommend topics, and we'll talk about those next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you.